For years, Ukraine stood on the defensive, holding the line against Russia's endless waves of drones, missiles, and brutal assaults. But today, the tide of war is shifting. Ukraine has revealed a terrifying new arsenal. The Long Neptune with its 1,000-kilometer reach, the lightning-fast Sapsan ballistic missile, and the devastating Flamingo FP-5, capable of striking Russia from 3,000 kilometers away. These are not just weapons. They are symbols of a nation ready to unleash its full force. Hello, welcome back to my channel, Future X USA. For most of this war, Ukraine's armed forces were cornered. They dug trenches. They resisted daily drone swarms. They absorbed missile after missile, wave after wave of Russian aggression. Survival was their only strategy. But the seeds of resistance were planted long before the full-scale invasion began. In 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, Ukraine's defense industry faced a brutal awakening. For decades, it had depended on Moscow for parts and trade. That reliance ended overnight. The partnership was shattered. Ukraine turned inward, determined to survive on its own. Legacy factories like Yuzhnoye, Yuzhmash, later renamed Pivdinmash, and the Luch Design Bureau became the foundation of a new missile industry. Early programs like the Vilka-guided rocket and the R-360 Neptune anti-ship missile gave Ukraine its first home-built firepower. But progress was painfully slow. Budgets were small. The ambitious REM-2 ballistic missile program faced delay after delay. By 2022, Ukraine had some tools in its arsenal, but not enough to match Russia's overwhelming stockpiles, sprawling production plants, and colossal budget. When the Kremlin unleashed its invasion, Ukraine was outgunned. Russia immediately targeted Ukraine's missile programs. Factories in Dnipro were bombed. The Pavlograd chemical plant, critical for solid fuel, was struck again and again. The Kremlin tried to kill Ukraine's missile dream before it was born. And yet, even in those desperate days, Ukraine showed its ingenuity. In April 2022, the Neptune missile struck the Moskva, flagship of the Russian Black Sea Fleet. The mighty warship sank beneath the waves, sending shockwaves around the world. That single strike announced that Ukraine's missile engineers had teeth, but domestic stockpiles were small. Ukraine needed help. Allies stepped in. Britain and France supplied Storm Shadow and Scalp missiles, long-range precision weapons that could punch through bunkers. America sent ATACMS, powerful ballistic missiles capable of devastating bases and supply depots. These weapons turned the tide of key battles. Storm Shadow struck Sevastopol, crippling submarines and command centers. ATACMS destroyed Russian helicopters in occupied territory. Each strike proved deadly effective, yet every success came with a lesson. Ukraine saw the limits of relying on others. Deliveries were small, stocks were finite. Some nations hesitated. Others imposed restrictions. Missiles arrived, but always with strings attached. Ukraine drew its conclusion. To truly fight back, it needed independence. Independence meant building its own arsenal, large, reliable, and free of political limits. By 2023, Ukraine's engineers were pushing boundaries. The Neptune missile was modified for land attack roles. One of them destroyed a Russian S-400 system in Crimea, proving the upgrade worked. Plans were drawn for a longer-range variant. Then came two ambitious breakthroughs, the Long Neptune and the Sapsan. The Long Neptune was the rebirth of the R-360. Longer, thicker, and deadlier, it stretched nearly 6 meters in length, with expanded wings and fuel tanks. Unlike the original's modest 175-mile range, this new version could fly a staggering 1,000 kilometers. Suddenly, no Russian refinery, airbase, or weapons hub deep inside enemy territory was safe. In March 2025, President Volodymyr Zelensky announced its combat debut. The Long Neptune has been tested and successfully used. A new Ukrainian missile, an accurate strike 1,000 kilometers in range. It was not just a message of pride. It was a warning to Moscow, to the world, that Ukraine had entered a new age of warfare. If Long Neptune gave Ukraine reach, then Sapsan gave it speed. Rising from the troubled ashes of the HRM-2 program, Sapsan was reborn as a weapon of light. It carried a 1,000-pound warhead and could fly faster than Mach 4, over 5,000 kilometers per hour. Too fast for most defenses, too heavy to ignore. Experts compared it with America's ATACMS and found it superior, larger, faster, more destructive. Capable of striking command centers, depots, and fortified bases with terrifying precision, a single Sapsan could obliterate targets that once required entire salvos. But Ukraine's engineers were not done. They unveiled a third missile, one that shocked even seasoned analysts, the Flamingo FP-5. Developed by Firepoint Defense, this long-range cruise missile looked unusual at first. Its early prototypes had a pink-tipped nose from a coating error, earning it the nickname of Flamingo. But behind the name lay raw destruction. The Flamingo carried 1150-kilogram warhead, heavier than almost anything in the war. Its range stretched to 3,000 kilometers. It could reach not just Moscow, but targets far deeper into Russia than anyone thought possible. And it was built fast, from concept to battlefield test in just 9 months. Ooh. Irina Terek, Firepoint CEO, explained, people want results. They want to see Red Square on fire. But we are not aggressors. We created this missile to defend sovereignty. It is completely Ukrainian-made. Defense analyst Fabian Hoffman went further. He called Flamingo Ukraine's strongest security guarantee, suggesting that with 3,000 to 5,000 of them, Ukraine could cripple 25% of Russia's economy within days. Oil refineries, power grids, transportation networks, a nation's lifeline burned and broken. By the end of 2024, Ukraine was no longer a passive recipient of foreign weapons. It was a missile-producing power in its own right. Small cruise missiles, long-range drones, modified Neptunes, Sapsans, Flamingos. Each system built momentum. Attacks multiplied. Fires erupted in Russian oil plants. Airfields were hit. Radar stations silenced. Each strike chipped away at the Kremlin's war machine. And now in 2025, Ukraine stands on the brink of something greater. No longer the nation scrambling to defend. No longer the David with only a few stones. It now holds weapons capable of striking fear into the heart of Russia itself. Imagine the strategy. A swarm of drones launch at a Russian airbase, overwhelming defenses, and then, out of the clouds, a Long Neptune slams into command. Or picture a Sapsan streaking across the sky at 4 times the speed of sound, striking an oil refinery with such force that fire rages for days. Or a Flamingo, flying across the border and deep into Russia's industrial heart, exploding with the weight of over a ton of destruction. For Vladimir Putin, these are not distant threats. They are present realities. Ukraine has already used Long Neptunes in combat, already tested Sapsans, already deployed Flamingos. The future is not coming and it has arrived. And unlike Russia, Ukraine does not use its missiles on schools, hospitals, or homes. Its targets are military. Its aim is simple: dismantle the war machine that invaded its soil. Every refinery destroyed tightens the squeeze on Russia's economy. Every airbase hit reduces its ability to wage war. Every depot struck weakens its supply lines. Piece by piece, Ukraine is cutting away at the Kremlin's ability to fight. The path has been long, from dependency to destruction, from defending trenches to striking deep inside enemy territory, from surviving to unleashing. Ukraine's missile revolution is not just a story of technology. It is the story of a nation's determination to fight back, to innovate under fire, and to turn the tools of war into instruments of survival. And now, as the Long Neptune, the Sapsan, and the Flamingo take flight, the message is clear. The era of defense is over. The era of offense has begun. High voltage, this is Future X USA. Stay tuned for more deep insights into the battlefield, the weapons shaping the war, and the turning points that define our time.